Hello, YouTube. Welcome to this episode, and I hope you're going really well. I am just getting things sorted and finalized, ready to record episode 52 of Connection Over Coffee. I'm just really glad you're here. I just wanted to say a special hello before I put the headphones on and we get things going. I hope you're going really well. And if you're watching this close to the festive season, it's late December 2022 right now. I hope that you're going okay where you are in the world. All right, let's get cracking. Yuma and welcome. I'm Phil McAuliffe. I'm the loneliness guy, and this is Connection Over Coffee. This is a podcast that proudly serves and supports you, a gay man experiencing loneliness, and helps you take steps to getting the authentic connection you need and deserve. Thanks for joining me. Please go make yourself comfortable, and I'll go get us some coffees. So, if you are listening on a podcast, like if you're listening to the podcast, and you would be listening to the sound of a coffee being made, and I have a hair over my eye, and so which is all very atmospheric. But for now, I can't do make sort of coffee making sounds with my mouth, so we'll just have to imagine it. Right? All right. Anyway, I'm really glad you're here. Here you go. Welcome to episode 52 of Connection Over Coffee. In this episode, we're going to talk about how we can get you through the festive season if you're feeling your loneliness. And it's the festive season, and it's supposed to be the time of peace, hope, joy, and goodwill for all men, right? But does it feel that the thoughts and feelings of your loneliness are here to ruin your festivities? Does it feel like there are that there aren't any festivities at all for you to get involved in? A big question for you right now is, are you struggling with your loneliness? Because if you are, and even if you're not, I'm really glad you're here because I've got you covered. And a reminder that it takes an awful lot of courage and bravery to press play on content relating to loneliness, either through a podcast or on YouTube. So, whether this is the first time you've pressed play and you're joining me for coffee for the first time, or you're coming back for another coffee with me, either way, I'm really glad that you're here and welcome. But before we go on any further, this podcast is proudly recorded, edited, and uploaded in Canberra, Australia's capital city, on the traditional country of the Ngunnawal people. And I humbly acknowledge and pay my respects to Ngunnawal elders, past, present, and emerging. And I also want to acknowledge and welcome all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders, and indeed all First Nations people listening. Before we get into the episode, there's a few things that I want to say just in terms of some housekeeping. And there's a link in the episode description, whether it's on YouTube or on the app that you're listening to the podcast through, that will take you to thelonelinessguy.com, which is my website, which has all the content, the blog, the podcast, which is all about destigmatizing gay loneliness and helping gay men like you, get the soul-nourishing connection that you need and deserve. And there's also details of how you can get me in your corner through my mentoring services, which are group mentoring or one-on-one mentoring, or indeed you like what I'm saying so much that you want to have me speak at a conference or to your business. All of the details about how you can get in touch with me are through thelonelinessguy.com. And I invite you to go to my website and check out my services. If the content of this episode or any of the other 51 episodes of Connection Over Coffee has content in which you feel that I'm speaking directly to you. Secondly, I love speaking with you on this podcast. It's very intimate. It's just like me and you and with me in your ears. It's a very sort of intimate space. And we talk about some real things here. But the irony of a podcast is that it's something, unless you're driving along in a car and there are people in the car with you, it's something that we tend to do, you and I, just alone. And it can be hard when we're talking about the content of loneliness and gay loneliness and speaking about the importance of feeling connected to community, to actually feel like you're connected to community when you're listening to a podcast. I want to change that. If you're up for it, I'd love it if you could send me a photo of you enjoying a coffee wherever you are in the world and send it to me for me to use on socials. I would tag you and with your permission and indeed your words, share some of your story with other gay men in the global audience here at The Loneliness Guy to create that kind of sense of community. It's always great. And I'm just always blown away to hear where my voice is being heard around the world. But it's important that we feel that we are connected to community. So if you want, help me create that sense of community. I'd be really appreciated. And I know that it really helps other listeners wherever they are in the world. Finally, I've got bold ambitions for the work at the Loneliness Guy and the role it would play in the world to support the global LGBTIQA+ community and feel less alone in their loneliness. If you can support me in this work and want to find out more, please tap the invest link in the episode description and let's set up a chat about how we can do nothing short but change the world. Now, with all of those notices out of the way, let's get you through the festive season. But I want to check in with you before we launch into the episode. I wanted to see that your coffee's there, you're feeling calm and settled, and you're kind of just ready to go, ready and raring to go. Great, you're all sorted. Let's get into it. So this episode corresponds with a blog post which I published on the Thursday, the 15th of December, 2022. And it was called Getting You Through the Festive Season. Now, there's a couple of things, there's three things that I want to say on this episode. Now, I kind of want to get through them relatively quickly. And the first is this. You may have noticed in right at the beginning of the episode, I was saying, this feels like, being the festive season, it feels like it's supposed to be the time for peace, joy, and goodwill for all men, right? I want you to pay attention to the language there. The language there that I used was very specific, but you might not have noticed it. Do you think what the word is? Well, the words are supposed to. And those supposed tos and shoulds, they're very close linguistic friends, should, they're words that we kind of pepper into our everyday speech just without really noticing it. We kind of, use them all the time. And we need to be on guard for those words, because when it comes to something like the festive season, when it comes to like doing anything in ourselves or with other humans, the shoulds and the supposed tos will, well, they'll frankly fuck you over every time, because and fuck you over in a way that you might not find pleasant, because shoulds and supposed tos, while they're small linguistically, and you might even be saying them without really paying attention to it, they drip with judgment. They drip with the expectation, and might not drip with judgment, drip with expectation that what is happening shouldn't be happening and something else should be happening, but it's not happening. And the sense of expectation that has been cultivated, perhaps unknowingly, unconsciously, subconsciously, without conscious thought, is kind of playing out those expectations, those dashed expectations, those crushed expectations, those otherwise not met expectations are making you feel bad. So my first point here is Christmas, the festive season, New Year, however it is for the festive season for you, and if it is indeed the festive season for you, they come with sort of supernatural expectations. And if you watch movies, if you listen to Christmas carols, if you watch TV and see ads, or depending on where you are in the world, commercials, it's full of the expectations of Christmas. Drink this drink, and like a great time ensues. Fly this airline and connect with your family. Do this and you'll get that. Consume this product and you'll have that. Watch this movie and say these things and hope to meet the tall, dark, handsome man, and, you know, all of your troubles will be fixed in the weeks of Christmas. Those expectations, of course, when we say them out loud, they're kind of ridiculous. But unchallenged, they can kind of seep into us and come out of us in our shoulds and supposed tos. They can kind of ooze out of us linguistically. That's a brilliant, brilliant visual there for you. But we kind of absorb all of this all the time throughout all our life. And they can, as I sort of very graphically say, they can then ooze out of us linguistically. They offer really big clues, the shoulds and the supposed tos. Now, if you've been around here at the Loneliness Guy for a while, you'll know that I'm big on language, because language gives us the biggest indication of what's really going on within. And by pulling at the little linguistic thread, sometimes the issue that is not known to you actually becomes readily apparent. And the shoulds and the supposed tos are those linguistic threads that we can then pull, and then the whole jumper, sweater, wherever you're from, can come unravel, be unraveled, and what is beneath becomes abundantly clear. And then when it's abundantly clear, without judgment and curiosity, we can then ask the question. We can then do things with that, with curiosity rather than judgment. But the advice that I give you now is this. When you notice that you are saying shoulds, or you're thinking shoulds, and so for instance, you know, being the festive season, you should be going to parties every night, and you should be doing this, and you should be doing that, and you should be, I don't know, like, it's hard to not come up with, like, you know, cliches of what we think that Christmas should be like. And then once Christmas is done, there's like the whole stress about what you're doing on New Year. And are you going to be invited to a party, or, you know, are you hosting a party and no one will come, and all these kind of things. Like, there's so many expectations at this time of year that the shoulds are a really good way of, with kindness and curiosity, going, right, where did that come from? So here's what I want you to do. When you hear yourself thinking, should. When you hear yourself saying aloud, should. And the same applies for supposed to, or any other kind of synonym for should. Ought to. Indeed, need to. All these kind of little verbs. I invite you to develop the reflex of, as quick as like a doctor tapping your knee to test your reflexes, who says, I should do this? Who says? I don't know. Where did that come from? Oh, and with that little introspection, and here's my invitation to you, not only within yourself, when someone says it around you, kindly and lovingly, you can say, who says? Who says that we need to do that? Who says that you need to do that? Because often the thoughts and feelings of loneliness come when you do not feel that you are measuring up to something. And if you aren't measuring up to a metric where you need to be having the best damn Christmas ever, every single day of every single festive season, then you're a failure. And, that feeds your loneliness. Kindly, lovingly, allowing yourself to be who you are in that moment and meeting yourself there strips away all of these expectations and allows what is within you to be. Those shoulds can have you going so far away from who you are in that moment and create unrealistic expectations that you can never possibly meet. And then when you don't meet them, which is inevitable, you come down hard on yourself, which indeed then fuels your loneliness. So the invitation there is that simple who says. And if it's not you and not your values that say who says, where have they come from? And indeed, are they still serving you? So at this time of year, you might have religious-based trauma that comes up. You might have family-based trauma that comes up. And seeing a whole lot of people gathering together in family groups, you might, feel that you might need to go to a religious service, but you don't really feel welcome there, or your family doesn't accept you. You get to go, why am I holding on to this? Does it still serve me? And all of this comes from looking at the should and the shouldn't in the things that you say and think. Because those unmet expectations almost inevitably have you feeling bad about yourself and feed your loneliness. It's yet another example of how much you suck, potentially are unworthy of all that is good and connective in life, and has you sort of taking massive strides away from that point of where you are in that moment. Coming back to where you are right now is the way through your loneliness. Allowing yourself to be however that is the way through your loneliness. So my first, pardon me, my first bit of advice is that pay attention to the shoulds and the supposed tos and the expectations that you have right now, and meet yourself where you are. The second point is to get out and do connection. What do I mean by that? Well, there's two things here about getting out. Now, here in Canberra, on Ngunnawal country, it's finally becoming summer. And it's a whole lot easier to get out of the house. If you haven't had the benefit before of a Christmas in summer, you're missing out. And it is so much easier to get out, to get outside, to be outside, to gather together when it's warm. There's just infinitely more options. You could remember growing up and playing cricket or tennis or swimming and, being outside and a whole lot of eating. And as I got older, a whole lot more drinking. It was great to be outside. And then the winter, the Christmases that I've spent in the Northern Hemisphere, they're different. They're very, very different. It's dark, it's cold. And where I was living in Korea for a few years, it's actually really cold. If you're from Canada, I don't want to get into a cold off. Yeah, Canada's cold. There's lots of places that are cold. Where I was in Korea was really, for me, very cold. Let's just leave that there. But I want to say, getting out at this time of year is really important. And there's two aspects of that. One is actually getting out of the house. And I don't want to dismiss how hard that is to do beyond saying. It's one thing to say it, it's a whole other thing to do it. So depending on where you are, that might be the difference between, I don't know, putting on a t-shirt and some sunscreen and out you go, you're ready for the day, or putting on an enormous coat, boots, gloves, scarf, beanie, however it is, like maybe even like a face covering. So you can get out and sort of not have frostbite. It takes effort to get out of the house. And when you're experiencing loneliness, that effort can actually feel like too much. Now, I remember living in Korea and it fully taking 15 minutes to get ready to get out of the house. And if you were going to be out of the house for less than 15 minutes, like, why bother? And as a result, there'd be days where I wouldn't go outside. I could see outside from our apartment, but, I could also see that it was snowy and icy and really cold, and inside was warm. So that effort, particularly when you feel lonely, like loneliness it is for me at least sometimes, most of the time, exhausting. And the whole idea of getting out of the house, no matter what temperature it is just like, oh, no, I can't be starved. Can't do it. Nah, nah, nah. But it's not only that getting out to do connection, which I'm talking about. It's getting out of your own head, which is the hardest. Because wherever you are in the world, if you do manage to get out of your house and be with other people, doing connection, wherever you go, there you are. Wherever you go, there are the thoughts and feelings that you're carrying within you. So the cruelty of loneliness is often not only in the physical isolation of not being around people when you are at home, potentially alone, but wherever you go, even if you are surrounded by thousands of people singing carols at the top of your lungs, the thoughts and feelings that you're carrying around with you are still there. So it's in that sense, both physically getting out of your living arrangements, but also doing what you can to get out of your head. The thoughts and feelings of loneliness are often seductive because they seem the least worst option. The worst option feels like it's going out and being with people. But then the thoughts and the story starts telling you can start telling yourself when you're about to summon the energy or you're working to summon the energy to get out, the stories start by saying, oh, yeah, but they're going to be there, that person's going to be there, or, I'm not going to know anyone. It's going to be really awkward and it's going to be horrible. I may as well just, I don't know, sit in my underwear and watch more TV on the couch, or dial up Pornhub on my phone or the or the laptop or whatever it is that, has you sort of doing something else that is more comfortable. So not for one moment am I saying that this bit of advice is easy, particularly if you are in the depths of a loneliness experience. You simply must get out and do connection. The mere act of getting out physically, mentally, emotionally, moving beyond your loneliness helps get you out of the rut of the comfortable misery of your loneliness. And doing that always is worthy of celebration, even if it is for 5 minutes, even if it is for half an hour, even if it is for an hour that you go to a Christmas event. Like, that shit always needs celebrating because you've done something, you've chosen something deliberately, mindfully to get yourself out of the rut of the comfortable misery of your loneliness. So not ever will you hear me say, or not deliberately say, you just need to get out and do connection, because that just drips with judgment. If it was just as easy as doing that, you'd go and do it, of course. But sometimes when you're in the throes of loneliness, the getting out and doing connection is an enormous bloody battle. So the connection that you get when you go out is going to be great. It is going to be what it is. But it is a whole lot better than you staying within yourself. And as I said, even if you get out only for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, celebrate that shit. It always deserves celebrating. So if you're listening to this and you've done something and you want to let me know, please let me know. I will do my best to throw a virtual ticker tape parade because I know how much courage that took. And the courage is always needed to move beyond the thoughts and feelings of your loneliness. So that's the second bit of advice. Get out and do connection. Remember the first one? The first one was challenge the shoulds and the supposed tos. All right, the third one is this. This is a big one. Is this the time? Is this the time when, is this the loneliness episode, the loneliness experience where you do something about your loneliness? I've been working on the loneliness guy for almost 2 years now. Publicly for 2 years, but a few months beforehand. So yes, 2 years. I've also been working on my other side on loneliness, the Lonely Diplomat, since 2018. And I don't know, I've written a book. I don't know if you know this, but I've written a book. I've got another podcast, another blog, and a whole social media presence as the Lonely Diplomat as well. And that's for diplomats and families. There are many similarities in terms of content, but then there's also some distinct differences. But one of the things that I've been doing, both here at the Lonely Diplomat, or here at the Loneliness Guy and at the Lonely Diplomat for the last few years, is providing help and support and advice and helping people cope through challenging times of the year. When it comes to Christmas, that's something that's really like frequent. Like, how do we get you through this time of year when you're experiencing loneliness? And then after Christmas, it's like New Year. How can I help support you be awesome in this new year? How can I help you make this year of back in 2021, it was the year of authentic connection. 2022 has been the year of letting things happen, showing up, letting it happen. And so, the first posts of January are all about helping you essentially be awesome and feel awesomely connected, moving beyond your loneliness over throughout the year ahead. And then there's February, and that's Valentine's Day. Now, I'm not a huge Valentine fan. However, I know that many people have, in a similar way to Christmas and the festive season, these stories that go on in their head about their worthiness, and like Valentine's Day can fuel their loneliness. They particularly feel their loneliness on Valentine's Day because they don't have the kind of sense, like the romantic connection that they feel they should or want. So I provide help and advice and support to help you cope with the loneliness that you feel. Then, there's, I don't know, like potentially Mother's Day or Easter or whatever it is. And then what I've been noticing in the last little while, particularly as we've been emerging from the pandemic, is the stories that can fuel loneliness about how in the Northern Hemisphere, you're not having a hot girl summer. You're not experiencing that kind of amazing life that you want, that you're seeing on social media. So you might not be down at Puerto Vallarta, or might not be in Miami or Provincetown or Five Pine Islands, whatever it is. You might not be in Mallorca or Mykonos or wherever it is. You might find yourself in downtown Bradford in the UK, or you might find yourself in, I don't know, like Phoenix and all the, wherever you are in the world. You're not having the great time that you're seeing on social media. So I provide advice, support, guidance to help you cope with that. My question to you on that is this: when is it going to be that you stop coping and start growing? When is it going to be that you stop coping with your loneliness and you do what you need to do to grow through it? You listen to it to then grow into getting the connection that you need. It's not an easy question. And if you've made it this far into the episode, this might actually be really tough. Because while I'm here to help you cope with your loneliness, I'd much rather see you grow and evolve and have what you need to do to grow through your loneliness when you next feel lonely. And you will. Because remember, loneliness performs an evolutionary function akin to you feeling hunger and you feeling thirsty. Your loneliness is telling you that you don't have the connection that you need. You're missing something. Your hunger is telling you that you need to eat. Your thirst is telling you that you need something to drink. It's as elemental as that. And so I'm not ever going to be telling you that, you need to do this to cure your loneliness. No, you don't want your loneliness cured. You don't ever want your hunger cured. You're going to eat and you're going to get hungry again if you don't eat. So what I do is provide you with some real tools that you come up with yourself for you, that helps you when you experience loneliness again. Not if, when you experience it again. That is the way that you grow and evolve through your loneliness, because every time you feel lonely, it could be for the same reason, particularly if you've done nothing about it except cope. But giving you the tools to sit with your loneliness and not run from it, not deny it, but actually allow it to be, to listen to it, to have the uncomfortable moment. And then go, right, I need to do this. Because I want to be really honest with you, if I haven't been honest enough already. There is always going to be an event. It's going to be a holiday. It's going to be a birthday. There's going to be a festive season that brings forth the loneliness within you. There is always going to be something that brings forth the loneliness that's within. I would much rather you thrive through your loneliness than merely cope. So I've got so much advice on helping you cope. But I've got even more advice to help you thrive, to help you work with your loneliness rather than getting you through a day where you deny it again. Or you acknowledge it, but you don't deal with what the cause is. You put a Band-Aid on it. So is this the Christmas that you decide? Is this the festive season that you decide that enough is enough? And it's time to learn other ways of living with your loneliness rather than short-term advice to help get you through? Is this the Christmas that you stopped, that you decide to stop coping with your loneliness whenever it appears, and that you decide to sit with it and find out what it's trying to tell you? And is this the Christmas? Is this the festive season? Is this the loneliness event? If you're not listening to this at Christmas, is this the loneliness event where you decide to stop coping and decide to start growing and evolving? Because I want to be really clear right now. There are so many reasons why, as a gay man, why as a beautiful gay man, you experience loneliness. So many of those reasons are not your fault. They are almost the natural consequence of growing up in a heteronormative society. I want to be really clear with that. Society does not handle loneliness well. I'm here to change that. And the factors that have fed your loneliness, many of which have been outside of your control, but some are well within your control. Some of the factors of your loneliness are well within your control. You've created them. And if you're aware of your loneliness and you're choosing to not do anything about it, then that's a choice. You're making a choice to do nothing. You're making a choice to sit with your loneliness. And it might feel like it's the least worst choice when given the choice between doing nothing or doing something. Are you choosing to stay in the comfortable misery of your loneliness out of fear of what could be if you did something? This is a challenge. It's challenging. That's what I do. I serve, support, challenge, and inspire. Because I can't do anything for you. Nobody can do anything for you until you go, no, not me, not today, not anymore. But when you decide to do that, my God, do I want to talk with you? Am I here for you? Until you get fed up, or make the conscious decision whether you're fed up or not. Make the conscious decision to explore why you're feeling lonely and where that comes from, knowing that there are factors that are within your control and a whole lot of others outside of your control. But you always have in your control how you respond. And if you choose to respond, it's like, no, I choose growth. I choose to evolve. I choose to not only cope anymore, but to thrive. Boy, is 2023 going to be great for you. So that's what I want you to consider over this festive season, if you are particularly feeling your loneliness right now. 2023 feels like a fantastic year to grow and evolve and to allow yourself to be who you are. Yep, scary. That's why you don't do it alone. That's why I'm here. So whether that's through blog, this podcast, content that I'm posting on social media, or indeed you want me directly in your corner, knowing who you are, helping you out, giving you like my best bespoke service. I'm here for it all. I'm here for it all. And I'm here for you when you decide that you want to grow and evolve. So let's make 2023 your year of growth and evolution. That's all I wanted to talk about in this episode. It's probably enough, don't you think? There's a fair bit of content in there. And indeed, that last point might actually be, I don't know, having you feel quite uncomfortable. You might be feeling at once inspired, but also terrified. It's like, oh, yeah, I know I need to do that, but God, it's scary. Yeah, yeah, yeah. What you choose to do next, you need to take a step. But once you take that step in the direction of me, you don't take another step alone. So remember that I'm here to help and support you through your loneliness and help you get the soul-nourishing connection. That feeling of being loved and belonging that you've been wanting and searching for. And all of that starts at thelonelinessguide.com. There's links all through the show notes to see how you can access my services and the services of the coaches that I partner with. There's also links in the show notes so you can join the free mailing list so you don't miss any of the content when I publish it, and other insights about what's happening around the loneliness guy. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you've noticed that social media seems to be in a whole lot of flux right now. Being on the mailing list means you don't miss anything. And also there's a link in the episode description that will take you to buy me a coffee. And buying me a coffee takes you to a PayPal link, and you can send me some money that buys me a cup of coffee. And please know that every dollar that you send to me through buying me a coffee is invested into letting more gay men know that they're not alone experiencing loneliness. Thank you in advance for your generosity. It's always appreciated. And I know that, well, please know that that money is made to work extremely hard. If you've got any questions for me or any feedback, please reach out to me on socials or send an email to me at connect@thelonelinessguy. And remember, while social media is an imperfect beast, we still need to feed the algorithm. And it helps me out enormously if you comment, if you press like, if you comment, rate, and share this episode. It feeds the algorithm beast, as I said, and it lets those in your social circle know if they're quietly experiencing loneliness that they're not alone. So, with all of that said and done, before I finish, this is the final episode of 2022. And there's a few thank yous that I want to say. First of all, I want to say an enormous thank you to my partner, Jeff. So I don't know, listener, viewer, if you are aware of this, but I quit my job in the Australian Public Service to do this work full time. And so after 23 years as an Australian public servant and living and working overseas for many of those years, I am now doing this. And Jeff has just been like the #1 cheerleader, support person, ear to hear ideas and suggestions and source of ideas and suggestions and inspiration. Jeff sees me, he believes in me, believes in this work, and he's still not scared. So my love, my beautiful man, thank you. And not that the kids will ever listen to this, but I want to say thank you to our beautiful sons. They're growing up way too quickly for their own good and for our good, but it brings us all so much joy to see them learning who they are and putting themselves out into the world. It's just brilliant. We have the best conversations around the dinner table. And even if that dinner table groans under the weight of the food, the amount of food that they eat. If you have teenage boys in your life, you will know that they have absolutely hollow legs. And I also want to say thank you to the people who have contributed to the content of the Loneliness Guy in 2022. Specifically, that's Mike Campbell, Michael Diorio, Matthew Todd, Jesse Elkins, Angelo Floresco, Craig Cassie, Ed Wilson, and Shannon Battison. I've been inspired by their wisdom and insight, and I hope that you have been too. I also want to say a huge thank you to Star Semper, my business coach, who's helping me take my vision for the Loneliness Guy and the Lonely Diplomat into the global resource that I dream of that it can be. I also want to say thank you to Michelle Lim and all the team at Ending Loneliness Together, Pete Bombacci and the team from Gemwell Project in Canada. Ending Loneliness Together is in Australia. Eddie Garcia and the team from the Foundation for Social Connection in the United States, all for helping me get my message to a wider audience. And I'm all about impact, and those teams at Ending Loneliness Together, the Genwell Project, and Foundation for Social Connection are all being hugely supportive for me and helping get my work out into the world. I'm really humbled to be in their presence, but I love the perspectives, insight, wisdom, and encouragement that they bring our conversations. Special shout out to Dr. Sarah Quinn, and there are some magpies outside that are fighting. Sarah is from the Australian Psychologists Society, and she has been a huge support for me here in Canberra over the last few months. And I really do enjoy our coffee sessions together. It's hard to know when we get together whether I'm buzzed from the coffee or the excitement and the potential of and the need for the work that I'm doing. It's kind of a line ball sometimes. Listener, my final thanks is for you. I want to thank you for being part of this growing global community of gay and queer men who are beginning to sit with their loneliness. I know that the content is sometimes confronting, and I'm not apologizing for that, but I hope that you're beginning to understand your thoughts and feelings better. And there's a special kind of loneliness, I have to say, that comes when you work on loneliness. So I really love receiving your notes, your photos, your, however it is, your contact with me, letting me know how the content that I've been providing is supporting you. Viewer, listener, you are why I do this, and I thank you so much for being here. So I'll see you in 2023 with some more content in a few weeks' time. But until then, please do be kind to yourself. Know that this is a time when we do kind of bathe in a whole lot of unexpressed judgments and expectations, and they can really feed your loneliness. Be kind to yourself, please. I really do appreciate you joining me for coffee today. Yara, and until 2023, take care of yourself. Together, we'll get you through your loneliness and help you get the soul-nourishing connection that you need. Thank you, YouTube. Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, and all the best for your 2023. I am right here to support you, guide you, challenge you, and inspire you through your loneliness. Take good care. I'll see you later.